So you're a perfectionist. Congratulations. Me too. What kind of advice I got for you? Not really much. I mean, I'll give you some basic advice about being a perfectionist. Pretty simple stuff. You're just going to have to let go of trying to be perfect. Understand why you're trying to be perfect and trying to be more perfect than being imperfect. Isn't that funny? Kind of a little feedback loop from hell. So the whole thing with being a perfectionist is that you have to let go of the expectations that you have within your mind. Because if you're someone like me, you're a highly cerebral person and you're highly thoughtful in nature, just thinking constantly, right? If that sounds like you, then you're probably much like me, and I could tell you from experience, you're gonna have to just put all those thoughts somewhere in a place within you and just do. You know what I mean? You have to do. You can't think about doing in order for the doing to happen. You know what I mean? So you just kind of have to be it. And yeah, it's a tricky thing. It really is. It's quite a complex thing to, a phenomenon within yourself to understand, really. There could be a lot of reasons why you're a perfectionist. It could be something you just picked up recently. It could be a relationship you were within for a few years and you were with somebody that, was highly perfectionistic and that rubbed off on you maybe. Maybe you're someone that absorbs people's energy really well, and so when you're around people that are perfectionistic, you take on their qualities. And maybe now you find yourself struggling with it, or maybe from the beginning you were programmed since you were a child to be perfectionistic. Maybe anything you did as a child was not good enough from your parents, and so they constantly critiqued you until you were perfect in their eyes. Or maybe it's reversed. Maybe your parents were just doing that for themselves and created such a harmonious, balanced life for you, so much so that when you encounter challenges and struggle in your own life, you have a hard time dealing with it because you were pampered as a kid and everything was perfect for you and you were spoon-fed, and so now you don't know how to deal with the challenges and you think that everything has to line up perfectly for things to flow in life. It could be many, many different reasons why, but I can tell you right now that if you are a perfectionistic person, it's your biggest block. It's your biggest fucking block. And the best thing you can do for yourself is to take action towards whatever you're declaring your life should be like. Go in that direction. It can be really frustrating too. You'll start getting frustrated with yourself. For me, I've nitpicked myself apart so well. I've went through all my different, shortcomings, my weaknesses, my faults. I've analyzed myself up and down, and I've taken on practices that are supposed to help me through all that, and they do, and I always have those practices to fall back on. But even in those practices, right, like I find myself being perfectionistic. I think that I'm supposed to wake up early in the morning, every fucking morning, and meditate right there every fucking morning. And I'm supposed to go do exercise afterwards, and I'm supposed to do this and that and journal before I can get back to my work. I need to be extremely grounded and present in my body before I can actually do anything on my computer. And it's like, good God, these expectations, it's like a mountain of expectations you have for yourself. And life is just not like that. You're just going to have to go with the flow, man. And it's tough because part of you's doing these practices, or at least for me, part of me is doing these practices not entirely for other things. I'm just doing it for myself. I'm just trying to heal. Well, I'm not trying to heal, I am healing. But the perfection that I expect from myself on how often I do these practices, it's just ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. It's so fucking stupid. And then, of course, you get a little angry at yourself, and that's only natural, right? I mean, it's not something that easily goes away overnight, especially if you were this way most of your life. If you've been a particular kind of person your entire life. As I was growing up, I was told by some of my family members that I'm just a really particular person, and when I went to school, people would call me OCD. And perhaps there's some truth to that, But the thing is that going to stop me from allowing myself to be imperfect? Is that going to stop you from allowing yourself to be imperfect? No, it's not going to. Because you're going to make a choice eventually. Maybe not now. Maybe you have to let these words sink in. But eventually you have to come to a point where you see this gigantic mountain or this tree or whatever, some tall object that you're trying to climb. And that tall object represents the impossible standards you have for yourself. You'll climb that tall object, and sometimes you'll get to the fucking top, and you'll feel really good about yourself. And sometimes you'll try to get to the top one day, and you'll fall flat on your face. You're really tired that day. You need rest. And so, a part of being perfectionistic is understanding your own needs in every single given moment. And that can be really difficult. We're not taught that. We're not taught that in our school systems, in our family dynamics when we're being raised. None of that is there, right? And so we often deal with this bullshit, which is the learning process. We're trying to figure out ourselves. And even when we do have some clarity on the direction we need to go to figure out this behavior of perfectionism, it doesn't matter because it's easier said than done, right? It's all about integration. I just, for example, I did this online course. It was supposed to help me change limiting beliefs within myself. I did, definitely. It was supposed to help me become the greatest version of myself so that I could show up for myself more, not only in my business, but in my life. I finished the course. I thought I changed. I had all these lessons. But at the end of the day, the integration's taking time. So I'm expecting results from myself. And I'm falling flat on my face. I had to get out my own way. And that's what you have to do, is you have to get out your own fucking way. Which is a tough deal. Oh, it's so tragic. It's tragic when you realize you're your own obstacle, Even with this video, it's like, I'm gonna go on a tangent here, but with the internet, where we download information at a very fast pace. Our ancestors, they had to go to the library to learn things. They had to have hands-on experience to learn things. And we live in a day and age where everything's instant. We just watch a video, maybe 5 minutes. You just watched a whole video on how to skin a fucking elephant or something. Using that as a terrible example, but you know what I mean? There's a video for everything online. And even this video right here, if you clicked on this video, just be patient with yourself, because even if a lot of these words I'm saying right now resonate strongly with you, sometimes change is not going to happen in that instant. We live in this day and age with internet, and we think that all these changes are going to happen instantaneously because we're programming ourselves with how we're learning this information. Be patient with yourself, because it may not happen exactly how you want or how you fantasize. These changes you desire within yourself, they take time. And if you stay consistent, of course they will happen. But if you give up, then of course it'll take a little longer. And that's just the way it works, unfortunately. There's this quote, I forgot who said it. It might be Terrence McKenna. Be careful of unearned wisdom. And that's always sat with me ever since I heard it. Because ever since I was in my teenage years, I was constantly teaching myself new things online. I was researching the internet about all these different topics and trying to learn and learn and learn. And the brain, it has a limited capacity to utilize information in the now, right? So kind of think about part of our brain has a limited supply of RAM. If you're thinking about a computer, so many gigabytes of RAM, processing power, and so, really just sitting there, taking in all this information that I have over the years, and then actually integrating it, it's taken years. I mean, I started researching it, and I my spiritual awakening started for me in 2012, right? I learned about so many different things since then, and I'm 25 now. It's 2023, and I'm still having a hard time fully integrating and putting into action some of those things. And so, if you look at that, that's over a decade, right? And for some of us, we expect results a lot faster than that. So we think to ourselves, what's the fucking point? of learning these things if we can't apply it for a decade. I'm not saying that has to be the story for you. That's the story for me. And perhaps maybe I took on a little too much. I often do that. But yeah, just be patient with yourself. That's all I got to say. Get out your own way. Be patient with yourself. Get out your own way. Realize that it's all a loop, you know, like if you're expecting yourself to be perfect, you'll never win. And then if you expect yourself to learn how to be imperfect, you're going to struggle. And so it's just a process, man, as with anything, right? But perfectionism is a huge block for people like me who are big thinkers, overanalyzers, overthinkers, people like that. You know, you're your own obstacle, man. But, and however, there is one thing that is the key ingredient and the beautiful part about being a perfectionist. And you want to know what that is? It's the fact that you know what you want down to a molecule, right? And some people are on the opposite side of the spectrum where they're not OCD at all. They act, and they run in circles doing all these fucking things because they have no idea what they actually want in life. And or maybe they have some fleeting feeling of what that is and they chase it for years. And so they're kind of in the opposite side of the spectrum, but in the same boat where they're in their own way because they don't know how to kind of think deeply about certain stuff or certain things. So you could be frivolously chasing futile endeavors. You know, you could be wasting your time in that respect too. So at least since you're a perfectionist, you know down to a molecule what you actually want, you know, and so that's the power of being a perfectionist. But then you gotta like, it's like, okay, I want this exact thing, you know, and it's really good, especially in manifestation, to know exactly what you want. If you know your direction in life or what you want in any given moment, that's really good. However, it's not going to come to you instantly. And just breathe, right? Another advice I have for you, this is obviously very basic stuff, but I'm not saying that to put you down or anything. It's it's not something I'm like a master at either, but take time away from instant gratification. And every form of instant gratification you have in your life, take time away from it. Take breaks from it, fast from it, you know. Learn to appreciate things that come to you in a delayed manner, right? There's that saying, all good things come in time, right? If you realize that, that might help you as well, because a lot of us overanalyzers and perfectionists, we want things now, and our brain's being trained constantly to want things now because of what we're consuming every single day, whether that be, you know, different drugs, different substances, or different foods we eat, or different media that we consume. It could be a mental thing too, and for me and most analyzers, that's what it is. It's a mental thing. And you know, if you're someone like me who is trying to help themselves out of certain situations or certain patterns, if you're trying to repattern your life, don't expect yourself, you know, to be perfect on every practice that you're trying to do. Or don't expect yourself to be on time with everything, especially not in the beginning, because when you're at the full stage of the hero's journey, I mean, they call it a fool for a reason. You're naive. You're naive to think that you can get up every morning on the dot and meditate and then go exercise and then go journal and then go get in a perfect workflow for your stuff. It just doesn't work that way, you know? So know that these practices you're doing, like if you're learning how to meditate, or if you're learning how to do breath work or yoga or ice baths, or God, name it. There's so many different ways and modalities to help yourself nowadays. Thank God these things are coming more into the awareness of our species, especially here in America, because we are suffering a mental disease collectively. But, you know, knowing that is going to help you. Knowing that these practices you're learning, if you're learning meditation, if you're learning breath work, or whatever, you know, fill in the blank, it's going to be there for you to fall back on, you know, and that's what it's there for. It's supposed to be kind of a support system for yourself, within yourself. And we all fall off the path. Every single one of us, even the gurus, you know what I mean? Even the greatest people, which, come on, what a joke. But even those greatest people fall off the path. And there is a sense of humility in that too. We're striving for greatness. We're reaching to the heavens and we fall on our face. And it's a beautiful dance, as with most things in duality and existence itself. It's all a beautiful dance. But I think that learning, that these practices are here to help you. You just have to not expect yourself, especially in the beginning of learning these practices, to be perfect with it. I met a guy recently, he does like 6 hours of meditation. And at first I was like, God damn. This dude's he's in the muck of Western civilization and he's doing 6 hours of meditation a day. That's fucking fabulous. But then he told me that, he has like an injury or something. And so that injury is actually preventing him from doing a lot of things in life, but it's keeping him focused on the meditation, which in that sense is beautiful. What great meaning you can attribute to that injury, and hopefully for a lot of us it doesn't have to come to that point, but we as humans, like I said in one of my other videos, is we are forced to change through pressure often. We don't just consciously decide to change out of the blue just because for shits and giggles, that's oftentimes there's a pain associated with wanting to change. Most times you can exercise any muscle, whether that be in your physical body or other things metaphorically. You can exercise those things and become really good at them, and you can practice, but you're gonna fail. If you want to be successful, you're gonna fail. And failure, as they say, is not really failure. As long as you're not quitting. Quitting is the real failure. Giving up is the real failure. But as long as you're like trying and you keep at it to some degree, you'll get there when you get there. And we're all in our own clockwork, And another thing, please don't project the perfectionism onto other people, because I can't begin to explain to you how fucking stressful that is for the other person. It's extremely stressful. You're doing yourself a disservice because you're butchering your own relationships with people. We're imperfect. We're like the trees and the blades of grass and all the different beautiful forms of existence. We grow fractally, in random directions. We sprout and we grow. And we shouldn't expect ourselves to adhere to a certain model all the time. It's just not sustainable. So that's my 2 cents. Please don't project your perfectionism onto other people. From my experience alone, it's really distasteful and motherfucking hard to deal with. Especially in work situations, my old boss would expect me to do things perfectly to her standard, which was like really high. I started getting performance anxiety. And this doesn't have to just be in work, this could be in relationships as well. When we feel like we have to perform for our partners or our friends or our family because we're trying to adhere to their own perfection or their own standard they've set for us. You set your own standard. You have the power. And you have the power to allow yourself to slip up sometimes. You have the compassion within yourself, the grace to say it's okay. Those are my tangents. Perfectionism, it's quite the crutch, but exercised through it properly meaning there's no proper way to do it, we can begin to see results when we get out our own way. So thank you for watching Soul Shifting Insight. Tune in now.